Today we're going to talk about the next Shem Angel, Manakel. And also, I'll show you how to draw a geomantic figure. So, I'll show you how to do an ancient form of divination that was practiced in the Middle Ages in Europe and in the Renaissance. It actually came from the Middle East and probably from Africa. It's an ancient form of divination called geomancy, earth divination. And it's also a way to communicate with planetary spirits and a lot of traditional grimoire magic. So a lot of people that watch my videos are aware that I like to talk about the practices of magic in, let's say, the 1600s or 1700s. Okay, I like to look at how magic was practiced in the 1500s. I'm really fascinated by the last 500 years of magic, and of course before that, dealing with things like the Greek magical papyri, or dealing with the Sefer Zera for mystical stuff, things like that. Of course that's of interest as well. But and of course I also talk about modern magic as well, and informing a modern magic practice with some of these things from the past. Okay, so someone that practices magic, that gets into magic, or has an interest and would like to try out some magical practices, if for nothing else, in order to have an experience and see what happens, or someone that really takes that seriously, like trying to learn an ancient forbidden skill, okay, the practice of magic, even for modern magicians and practitioners of modern traditions of magic, may find it interesting, may want to inform their practices by these classical practices, because we're all part of a larger tradition. But anyways, today I'll show you how to draw your first geomantic figure. If you've never done geomancy before, by the end of this video, you will have done geomancy. Okay? I'm going to break this down. And today, the new Shem Angel, okay, the time of the new Shem Angel begins today. So the period of Demabia, which I talked about in my last couple of videos, I talked about Demabia. And Demabia is a Shem Angel associated with 20 to 25 degrees of Aquarius. So now the sun has entered 25 degrees of Aquarius, and now we begin with the next Shem Angel. So the Shem Angel, whose period of rulership has just begun, is Manakel. Manakel. I just made a post on my Facebook. I just made a post about Manakel and the qualities, and I cite all the sources and everything. So Manakel is associated with the degrees 25 to 30. 25 to 30 degrees of Aquarius is associated with Manakel. Manakel. And Manakel governs... Manakel is associated in so there are different sources for the Shem Angels. So the word Shem means name in Hebrew. So when you say Shem Angel, you're referring to an angel of the name, or a name angel. Okay, Shem means name in Hebrew. So the Shem Angels, there's 72 angels associated with the divine name, or the 72 names of God, which are extracted. So here we're talking about the history and the lore of the 72 Shem Angels, okay? The history and the lore of the 72 Shem Angels. So the 72 angels, they're associated with 72 names of God that are extracted from Exodus chapter 14, verses 19 through 21. And these 72 angels were written about by Renaissance occultists and magicians, and there are various grimoires for working with these Shem Angels. I think it's pretty important, the work with the Shem Angels. You hear so often, you hear people talk about the 72 demons of the Ars Goetia. You hear people talk about the Ars Goetia all the time. Okay, well, I think that it's very, also, I think it's equally important that I think that it's important that people become aware of and try working with the 72 angels of the Shem HaMephoresh. Okay. Now, these are two completely different systems. The 72 demons of the Arscoetia are completely different from the 72 angels of the Shem HaMephoresh. However, we do see Dr. Rudd. This was an interesting development in grimoire magic. Dr. Rudd's version of the Goetia, he actually uses the 72 angels as like buffers and controlling agents. And for protection, he would have like, you would call the Shem angel, then you would call the demon. Okay. Now, Dr. Rudd's method was it was an innovation. Okay. There's no connection between these spirits before Dr. Rudd. There's no evidence of any connections. This is something that Dr. Rudd concocted. But it's interesting. Anyways, the Shem HaMephoresh had no associations with this prior to that. So what do we see in the lore, the history of the Shem Angels? I talked about how the 72 Shem Angels are associated with 72 names of God. Now, these come to us from Jewish mystical tradition, Jewish Kabbalah. Okay, the origins are in Jewish Kabbalah, like of the rabbis, okay? There are three verses of the Torah. It's in Exodus, or Shemot, Exodus chapter 14. The three verses of chapter 14, Exodus 14, verses 19, 20, and 21. Each of these three verses in Hebrew has 72 letters. So what the Kabbalists have done, okay, is they've taken the three verses and they've put them on top of each other. Hebrew's written right from left. Verse 19 is written right to left. Verse 20 is flipped around, written left to right. And then the third verse underneath is right to left. This gives us 72 columns, and we extract the 72 names of God. Okay, and these are associated with the 72 nations and 72 tongues, the 72, the elders. One could associate them with the 72 disciples sent out. For those that want to look at that from like a gospel tale, sending out the 72 ministers. Okay. Now, what is the earliest source of this? Like I said, it actually comes from Jewish Kabbalistic tradition, but we have no connection between the 72-fold divine name and the angels, okay? We do have references to this 72-fold divine name in like medieval Kabbalistic literature, like Jewish Kabbalistic literature, but actually the earliest, now it doesn't mean the practice didn't exist, it means it wasn't written about. The earliest writings we have of these being actual angels that you would like work with in magic comes from the 1500s, the 16th century, okay? It comes from, we have Agrippa. Agrippa wrote the 3 books of occult philosophy. These 3 books were written in 1510, and they passed around in manuscript form until book 1 was published in 1531. And then the 3 books together were published in 1533. So this is kind of like the Bible of Western occultism, okay, or something. Like just metaphorically in the sense like this book was important for Western occultism, okay, the 3 books of occult philosophy. If you don't have a copy and you have any kind of interest in the occult or the history of the occult, if you don't have a copy yet, then I highly recommend that you order a copy. Okay, you can find it on Amazon. You can find it on wherever you buy books. The 3 books of occult philosophy by Henry Cornelius Agrippa. Okay, it's a 16th century work on magic. He talks about the 72 Shem angels, and he talks about how these 3 verses in Exodus, how you derive the 72-fold name of God, but by adding El or Yah to the end of each divine name, you get the 70 names of 72 angels. Okay. Then you have Johann Reuchlin. Johann Reuchlin was an important figure in the 1500s or the 16th century. Johann Reuchlin. He wrote De Arte Kabbalistica, okay? Johann Reuchlin, he wrote the De Arte Kabbalistica in 1517. So, De Arte Kabbalistica, 1517. I actually have a copy. It's way off in the other room. Shall I go get it? Shall I go get it? I'm thinking about it. I might go get it. But, so there is an English, a pretty good, I like it, the English translation of The Art of the Kabbalah by Johann Reuchlin. Okay, this is on Amazon, wherever. That's another historical book. If you get the 3 books of occult philosophy by Agrippa, and then you get Johann Reuchlin's De Arte Kabbalistica, you get these 2 texts, you know, then you've already gotten a pretty good beginning to your library for having like a Renaissance occultism library. Renaissance occultism, okay? Renaissance magic. I'm talking about Renaissance angel magic. But Johann Reuchlin talks about, well, what are these 3 passages saying? What do these 3 passages say? You know, I keep going on and on, like, what is the history, what is the lore of the 72 Shem Angels? But we're going to continue, you know, we're going to go a little deeper into who are the Shem Angels, okay? Now, people can practice magic or do this stuff however they want, but I think it's good to understand the actual history and the lore of any kind of spirits that you're going to work with. Understand their history, understand their lore, learn about them, okay? And then from this, like, you can do whatever you want with that information, but then you have the information. So, like I said, Exodus, I know all of my viewers have their good books just sitting by their side all the time, you know. All of y'all, I'm sure all of you have your good books handy. Of course you do. What else would you have in your living room right now next to you? All right, Exodus 14, okay? Exodus 14, what version? I don't know. I'm looking it up, okay. Because I'm going to share this with you. We're going to read this together, you know. Everyone get your good books out. Obviously, I'm joking, because, like, a lot of my viewers are pretty, like, infidel. Like, a lot of my viewers are, like, not the church-going type of folks. So that's why it was funny. It's supposed to be funny, damn it. Well, I'm like, I know everybody's got their good books just sitting there. Okay. All right. Maybe I got a chuckle. Maybe not. Okay. All right. So, anyways, these 3 verses in Hebrew have 72 Hebrew letters each, okay? Exodus chapter 14, verses 19, 20, and 21. Okay, each one has 72 letters in Hebrew. The English of these verses, this is what it says. Again, I'm not being like some kind of like Bible person. We're talking about the history of the 72 angels of the Shem HaMephorash. And Cornelius Agrippa, when he talks about the Shem Angels, he talks about how the angel names come from this text. And actually, the names of the 72 Shem Angels do come from the Hebrew of these 3 verses. So what are the 3 verses? Again, each verse has 72 letters, and from this are drawn 72 names. What do these 3 verses say? They say, and quote, Then the angel of God, who had been traveling in front of Israel's army, withheld and went behind them. The pillar of cloud also moved from in front and stood behind them, coming between the armies of Egypt and Israel. Throughout the night the cloud brought darkness to the one side and light to the other side, so neither went near the other all the night long. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and all that night the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided. So this passage, this is actually one of the coolest passages, one of the most iconic passages from the Bible. It actually talks about Moses parting the Red Sea. Okay, and in the story, the Israelites continued on dry land. Okay, with the sea parted. It was like one of these things. Okay, the Israelites get through. The Egyptians try to pursue them, which, you know, you could say symbolically, what do the Egyptians symbolize, okay? Now, we can take the myths and stories literally, or we could also look at our journey through the wilderness to the promised land, that is obviously also symbolic. You know, there are different levels of interpretation, like when you start getting into like the Kabbalah and stuff like that. That in addition to the literal story of moving from slavery or bondage through all the trials till you get to the promised land, okay, the land of milk and honey, this is also symbolic of our own pursuit after the divine, our own spiritual quest, our own life, our own divine quest or spiritual quest, whatever tradition that you're in. You could see the symbolic like motif of moving from bondage towards liberation and moving through this wilderness. But again, the Egyptians, the pursuers, you know, the people that are coming after the Hebrews, trying to kill them and destroy them and persecute them, okay, they're saved. Moses parts the Red Sea, the Israelites get through, and then the waters come and, you know, get the Egyptians. So, protection. Anyways, so, according to Agrippa, and Johann Reuchlin goes into this too, these two texts from the 16th century say that this is where the 72 Shem Angels come from. And it is literally where the names, okay, like today's Shem Angel, the Shem Angel that begins today and governs the next 5 days, is Manakel. Now, the name of this angel, Manakel, literally comes from the Hebrew of these 3 verses. When, like I said, you put verse 19 from right to left, which is normal in Hebrew. The second verse underneath it, verse 20, flip it around from left to right, and then the third verse, which is verse 21, from right to left. This makes 72 columns. One of these is Monarch, and by adding L, Manakel. Literally, Manakel, this Shem angel, for example, comes from the Hebrew of this text, okay? It's a Kabbalistic device. That's where you get the names of these angels. It's tied to the 72 divine names, okay? Shem in Hebrew means name. So Shem angel literally means name angel or angel of the name. Okay, the Shem HaMephoresh means explicit name or expounded name, okay, or name and extension. So the 72 angels of the Shem HaMephoresh. And of course, later on, these were also, and possibly from the beginning, but later on we see that these are projected onto the 72 quinaries of the zodiac, which are 5 degrees each. A circle has 360 degrees. A 360 divided by 72 is 5. So 72 times 5 is 360. So each Shem angel governs 5 degrees of the zodiac. Manakel governs 25 to 30 degrees of Aquarius. Now, there are different ways to do timing, okay? There are different ways to do timing with the Shem angels. So one of the most popular ways of doing timing with the Shem angels is to work with Lazar Linane's Science of Kabbalah, or La Science Kabbalistique, the French. Pierce Vaughan has an English translation. I actually have a copy sitting around here somewhere. It's up there, I think. Pierce Vaughan's translation is an English translation of La Science Kabbalistique of Lazar Linane. Now, I don't really care for the timing very much, okay? I think that the way that he does the 3 geniuses and the whole, I just don't care for it. I think it's a little weird, but, you know, if people want to experiment, people want to try out his methods for timing, you know, that's fine. The office, actually this text is very important in the history of working with these Shem angels, because the offices, which is what I use, that's the main thing that I've used the text for, Lazar Linane's La Science Kabbalistique, or the Science of Kabbalah, it has a more complete office of each angel. It really talks about what each angel is there for. But he gives different ways of doing timing and of finding 3 different quote-unquote guardian angels. I'm just not personally convinced by all this, but some people work with it, and it is part of, like, I guess, the later history, you know. from like the 1800s, okay? But from the 19th century. But anyways, Manakel governs from 25 to 30 degrees of Aquarius. Manakel governs vegetation and aquatic animals. He also influences dreams and sleep. Manakel. Okay, Manakel governs dreams and sleep. Now, hopefully all of y'all have worked with Demabia, because Demabia's time just ended. Hopefully y'all are actually working with the Shem Angels with me if you watch these videos. If you haven't been, then I really welcome you, and welcome to the show, of course. I welcome any of y'all that are watching my show or my broadcast, what have you. I hope that y'all are trying this out, working with the Shem Angels, okay? I highly recommend working with the 72 Shem Angels for magic practice. For those of you that want to try out doing a magic ritual with angel magic, it's actually pretty cool. I mean, we're talking about Renaissance angel magic. Okay, we're not talking about magic that someone just like invented, whatever, like in the 70s or 60s. No, this is like Renaissance angel magic, okay? This is like the type of thing that someone would work with in the 1700s to try to work with an angel. Now, I do use some modern practices and stuff as well in there, but we're talking about the actual history and lore of the Shem Angels. We're talking about the original text from the 16th century. We're going into also Athanasius Kircher's Oedipus Aegyptiacus from the 17th century. He was important. He added the 72 verses from Psalms, psalm verses associated with each angel. And one angel actually isn't a psalm verse. It's Genesis 1:1. But he also goes into the divine attributes. So Manakel, the divine attribute of Manakel is Deus. What is it? Deus. I need to have Deus pasta. Dang it. I need to have this Latin memorized. My gosh, am I forgetting the Latin? God who takes care of and nourishes all. Okay? But what is it again? God who nourishes or takes care of all. So let me see here. So, and he governs vegetation, aquatic animals. And then also, Manakel governs dreams and sleep. So that'd be pretty interesting for any of you that are doing the magic with me, you know. For those, you know, it's interesting. Those that decide, there are different ways of working with the Shem Angels, okay? There are different ways of doing it. For those of you that follow the path of the sun through the tropical zodiac, like we do here in these videos, and also, which is how it's done in the Divine Cabal. Okay, and Lazare Lenain's Le Science Kabbalistique also talks about this form of timing as well. As the sun moves through the signs of the degrees of the signs of the zodiac, we work through the 72 angels. It's a great way, it is part of the tradition, and it's a great way to like work systematically through all 72 angels as like a type of initiation. It's very transformative. I think it's very initiatic to cycle through all 72 angels of the Shem HaMephorash. But whatever the case may be, everyone around the earth that uses this type of timing, everyone around the earth right now that works with the Shem Angels right now has started working with Manakel. Some people think that there is a power in many people doing a certain ritual at a certain time. Okay, some people are of the opinion, some people believe that when a bunch of people do the same type of ritual at the same time, that we are getting like in sync, or like we're all tapping into the same energy when we all coordinate the same rituals at the same time. Okay, and right now, around the earth, anyone that uses this form of timing, right now, the sun has entered 25 degrees of Aquarius. The next 5 days, around the earth, people that work with the 72 Shem Angels, they are now starting to work with Manakel. Okay. Now, there are different ways to do timing. Not everyone has to follow this approach, but right now is a powerful time for Manakel. Okay. Right now, really ever since the time of, like we've been working this time of year from degrees of 25 to 30 degrees of Aquarius is Manakel. Okay, the sun following the tropical zodiac is now, which is what they used in the grimoires, was the tropical, is from 25 to 30 degrees of Aquarius is Manakel. So again, he governs dreams and sleep. So any of y'all that want to work with this angel, it'd be interesting to try doing some dream work with this angel, or to ask the angel to give you a message in a dream. It'd be a nice little experiment, For any of y'all that want to work with this, I highly recommend having a journal. Anytime you do like a magic ritual or experiment or operation, whatever you want to call it, I think it's good to write down what you did. Write down any experience that you may have had, so that later on you can flip back and see, well, what was your experience when you were in this heightened state? What was your experience? You write it down when it's fresh on your mind, and you also see what you did to have that experience, okay? So that through time, through our own personal record, now it is highly subjective, we can kind of start to put cause and effect together. Sometimes we may do a ritual and it doesn't turn out so hot, and we can look at what was going on. Did I get plenty of sleep? Did I eat a heavy meal before the ritual? We try to look at all the different factors, and that should all be written down. Sometimes we may have very powerful results where we're like, whoa, what the hell? We can go back and look at, was something happening astrologically at the time, or what was going on that we had this powerful result? And over time, you could cull the fat, so to speak, from your ritual. You can get rid of, you could begin to cut out those things that are not working for you. That is why we're not just following a dogmatic thing imposed upon us from outside. We are, in a sense, self-governing because we see what works in our spirituality. And this is something that is unheard of, like in a lot of like quote unquote organized religions and stuff, is that we are self-governing. Anybody can work with these things and try them out. Anybody is capable of just trying them out, In my opinion, they just require an open mind. In hypnosis, we talk about the critical factor. Hypnosis is actually pretty interesting for anyone, and I'm not just taking a purely mentalist model of magic or anything either. I'm not doing that. Okay, there are different models of magic, which I've talked about before. There's the classical spirit model, which is like we're interacting with external entities that are objectively real. Spirit model type of magic you could find in like someone working with deities or gods and goddesses, or someone working with spirits and voodoo, or someone that you're working with a god or goddess or spirit or demon or angel. You're working with some type of external entity that you interact with to get results, okay? This type of magic is found way back like prehistoric times. Your people are working with a god or goddess. They're working with the deity of a river, or they're working with the sun god, or they did something with this deity or that. Okay, we've been having gods and goddesses and spirits since prehistory. Okay, it's a very important, very common form of magic. And two other type models of magic have evolved over the years. Of course, there's like sympathetic magic. You do this to this object, it ends in a real event and things. Then there's the energy model. The energy model of magic is kind of a Taoist type of like energy or chi, or energy fills everything, okay? Directing energy. Where energy is directed, it creates change, okay? That magic is a building up, imprinting energy with a desire and releasing it. There is that type of model of magic, which you see in modern magic. You see it more common in like neo-pagan circles, things like that. Okay. Raymond Buckland, his Complete Book of Witchcraft, it's a neo-pagan book, very important neo-pagan book. For example, talks about raising a cone of power. Okay. So there's the traditional spirit model of magic, then there's the energy model, and then you have the consciousness model or mentalist model. The mentalist model or consciousness model, either term could be used, is a model of magic in which thoughts are things and thoughts manifest reality. Okay. A lot of modern magic, like mentalist model or consciousness model, is actually based upon like new thought. Okay. The new thought and all this like goes back to like the early 1900s, the late 19th, early 20th century new thought. This idea of a cosmic mind, and but they're ancient like forms of this. But like the idea that thoughts are things and thought forms, and you have like chaos magic, okay, and like sigil magic and chaos magic and thought forms and servitors and egregores. That stream of like modern magic. So you have different forms of magic, okay? So you have different models, okay? Consciousness or energy, consciousness model, the energy model, spirit model, okay? Different forms of that. But anyways, so a lot of what I talk about here tends to follow more of a spirit model. But I think that hypnosis, for example, or like working with the mind, I don't think that we can totally separate these models. Like the spirit model and consciousness model, they could be separate, but they could also work together. Okay, the spirit model and consciousness model. For example, a shaman may use drugs or special techniques or ritual practices or drumming as a way to alter their consciousness to interact with the spirit world. There's that, you know, found in many different cultures around the world, okay? This idea of altered consciousness, being an exalted state of consciousness to interact with spirits. Okay, of course we have examples with like the Temple of Delphi. Okay, the Temple of Delphi or Delphi. We have like an exalted state of consciousness. And, you know, again, not to look at everything from just a mentalist model, but that it could help to have an experience when you've suspended disbelief. Because we're moving from a type of society in which like we're very much looking for like external results, and we're very much looking at realism and logic and reason and what is scientifically valid and to be rational, and this is like drilled into our heads. And hold on, I'm trying, this computer over here logged off. I got like a whole little setup. I got a computer over here, got all this thing, but what was I saying? Dang it. I hate when I do that sometimes. Like I'll do one little thing and then I'm totally veered off. Oh, like an exalted state of consciousness. Suspended disbelief. Like I think it's good to be open, okay, in order to have an experience, a transcendent experience that goes totally against our everyday level of consciousness. I think it helps to suspend disbelief. And anyways, I'm not going to go so far as to say I think it's necessary to do magic. Like, I tend to come from more of like a traditional model, like where you do a traditional ritual. However, I think that like hypnosis and inward journeying, things like that, could be used to help communicate with spirits. You know, you're in an exalted state of consciousness. It may be that exalted states of mind could be used as a type of doorway, not because you're talking with your brain, but because that's like a doorway. You know, we find throughout the Bible that dreams are used for communicating with angels. But anyway, long rant, y'all. Sorry about that. But anyway, so we've been talking about the 72 angels of the Shem HaMephoresh. Okay, the 72 angels of the Shem HaMephoresh. I really encourage people to try it out. Try working with these angels. If nothing else, just try prayer. Let's say that you don't want to do a big elaborate ritual. Let's say you want to start off simple. I really think it's a good idea to have a candle, you know. Have a candle, some incense, okay? Call on the angel's name. Call the angel's name. Like this current angel, Manakel. 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 Call the angel's name while putting your focus and your intention in establishing contact, okay? Put your focus and intention in establishing contact and call out the angel's name. The names of spirits are very important in traditional, like grimoire and classical magic. The name of a spirit actually gives you power. Okay, the name itself is a linking device, and then you have the sigil. But calling the name, you could think of it as like dialing its personal telephone number in a certain way. It's saying the name. The act of naming and all of this, it's like a very ancient, that's a whole thing to go into. But have faith and believe and have faith and see that actually historically, according to all these traditions, if there's any salt in any of these traditions, all of these traditions seem to agree that speaking the name is itself connecting, like powerful. Saying the name itself is powerful. You are establishing contact just saying the name, okay? According to all of these traditions, naming is a powerful thing in itself. You need to recognize and know that the act of naming itself is already taking a connection with this spirit. So what you would do is you would just call the spirit's name and know that you're making contact. Manakel, Manakel, Manakel. Put your focus in actually making contact. Call his or her name, Manakel, Manakel, Manakel. Okay? And then the psalm verse, the verse goes with the call, traditionally. Okay, traditionally the verse goes with the call. Okay? So the psalm verse associated with Manakel. I'm going to show you just how to do a simple ritual. All you have to do is just light a candle, light some incense, and call out Manakel's name. Okay? So Manakel, the psalm verse associated, according to Athanasius Kircher in 1654, the 17th century, he put this psalm verse. This psalm verse is part of the call. So we called out his name, Manakel, Manakel. I encourage you to do this with me. Actually, I've already been calling his name. What I would encourage you, the viewer, to do, if you're open, okay, that's the question. Are you open to having an experience? And some of y'all may have been doing this a long time, but for those of you that are new to magic and stuff, like, are you open to having this experience with me, with all the other viewers, all the other ones that are watching this? Y'all can have an experience with me. We can do this together, okay? If you're open. If not, just play the video and carry on and just listen, you know. But if you want to do this with me, do it, okay? What I want you, the viewer, to do is to just repeat the name, Manakel. Okay, say it out loud. Say it with me, Manakel. Manakel. Say the name with me, Manakel. Manakel. Okay. And then we're going to say the psalm verse. So give me one moment. I want you to really take your time to repeat the name a few times. I'll be right back. So I'm serious. Say the name, Manakel. Say the name a few times. I'll be right back. All right, so Manakel. Have you repeated the name yet? Manakel. So call the name with me, Manakel. Manakel. Say it with me 6 more times. 6 is the number of the sun. So if you're doing this with me, I want you to do it with me 6 more times, okay? Call out the angel's name with me. Again, it's Manakel, 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 okay? Say it with me 6 more times. Say it with me, Manakel. We're focusing on making contact right now. Manakel, Manakel. Say it with me 3 more times. Manakel, Manakel, Manakel. Okay, so we've made contact. We've made contact with the angel. Hopefully you've done that with me. And now we've established contact by the calling of the name, the verse that goes with this angel. And we're just kind of calling him in because this angel governs the next 5 days. We've called him in, so now we're going to recite his psalm verse. I'm going to use the King James Version. Forsake me not, O Lord, O my God, be not far from me. Forsake me not, O Lord, O my God, be not far from me. Forsake me not, O Lord, O my God, be not far from me. Now I'm going to say it in Latin. Ne dere linquas me domine Deus meus, ne discesseris a me. Okay. So we feel, do you feel anything? Do you feel anything palpable? Do you feel anything different with energy? You don't have to have like a blinding light and a booming voice coming out from the wall. No. What do you feel? We're dealing with subtle energy, subtle forces, okay? Think of what we do as magicians as like the alchemists. They're taking subtle forces and trying to congeal them. So be open to the subtle, okay? I'm showing you how to do magic, basically. So what do you feel right now? So if you're doing this with me, take a moment, Manakel. Do you feel anything? So Manakel, I'm going to read a little bit of this. Manakel, according to La Science Kabbalistique of Lazare Lenain, Manakel, it says, he dominates, he or she or it, Manakel, dominates vegetation and aquatic animals. He influences sleep and dreams. The person born under this influence will combine all the beautiful qualities of body and soul. He or she will win the friendship and benevolence of all good people by amiability and gentleness of character. Okay, that is Manakel. The attribute of God associated, according to Athanasius Kircher, with this Shem angel is Deus omnia pascens et lactens. Of course, it's all in Latin. So what does that mean? The attribute associated with the divine attribute. Each of the 72 angels has a divine attribute associated. The divine attribute that goes with Manakel is God who cares for and nourishes all. So, God who cares for and nourishes all. Now, if we look at this, God who cares for and nourishes all, we can look at this as like in the universe, that quality that like sustains the cosmos. You know, it sustains the cosmos. It has to do with the growing of the growth of the grass and the plants and in nature. Okay. And again, this angel governs like vegetation and growth. So, Deus omnia pascens et lactens. God who cares for and nourishes all. Okay, the nourisher of the world. That is the attribute that is associated with this angel. So again, if you look at Athanasius Kircher, each angel has a divine quality or attribute. We'll call them attributes. A divine attribute. And each one has a psalm verse. Okay. And each one has an office. The office of this angel, again, he dominates vegetation and aquatic animals. He influences sleep and dreams. So this is a good angel for doing dream work, or to get an answer in your dreams, or let's say you want to have a lucid dream, something to do with dreams, okay? This is a good angel for that. He influences sleep and dreams. The person born under this influence, here it's talking about someone born in these degrees. The person born under this influence will combine all the beautiful qualities of body and soul. He or she will win the friendship and benevolence of all good people by amiability and gentleness of character. So now that the sun has entered these degrees, I really recommend that those of you that watch these videos that has an interest to be open to talking to this angel. At some point during these 5 days, just be open. Maybe, you might have an experience. And if not, then, that's fine too. And then also, I wanted to continue our geomancy discussions, okay? So that's enough about Shem Angel magic for now. Just know that the new angel has started. The new angel is Manakel. Okay. So, Manakel. So, and he governs dreams and sleep and things like that. Now, today I wanted to continue our geomancy series. And today we're going to be looking at Albus. And also, I promised that today I'm going to show you how to draw a geomantic figure. So today, if you've never done geomancy before, by the end of this video, you'll be doing geomancy. Now, geomancy was the go-to method of divination in the Renaissance, okay? You would either go to a palmist to get your palms read in the 1600s, 1500s, or you would go to an astrologer, okay? We're talking about like 16th century, 1500s, whatever, the Renaissance. You would go to an astrologer or you would see a geomancer. Now, geomancy, its roots go back into antiquity. Into the sands of time, literally. And geomancy was used to communicate with spirits of magic. The spirits of magic being the planetary intelligences and spirits mentioned by Cornelius Agrippa in his 3 books of occult philosophy. He gives the 7 planets a spirit and also an intelligence. Okay? So in Renaissance magic, people would look for the spirit or intelligence of the planet that governs the question. So if you're asking about love matters, you would call on the intelligence of Venus, okay? If you want to know about some kind of problem you're having with an enemy, or are you going to win this struggle or win this competition, you might want to ask the spirit of the intelligence of Mars to help you with that question, okay? So if you want to know about love, you might go and ask you might ask Hagiel. Hagiel is the intelligence of Venus. Or if you want to know about what's going to happen, are you going to get that job promotion? You want to do a geomantic reading, you're going to call up Yophiel, which is the intelligence of Jupiter, according to Cornelius Agrippa. So basically you draw the sigil. I'll show you how to do it. You draw the sigil of the intelligence of the planet. You call out that intelligence's name. You're doing grimoire magic, okay? You're doing this is how you actually do the magic from Cornelius Agrippa and from this classical 16th century magic. I'm showing you how to do it. You call on the intelligence, okay, of the planet, ask your question, and then you make a series of dots. In the Renaissance, they used pen and ink, or paper and pen, okay? Paper and pen. Okay, in the Renaissance, they used a pen and paper to make the dots. But as you can see from the word geo, meaning earth divination, geomancy, this originally came from taking a stick and sand making dots in the sand, okay? Making dots in the sand, all right? Looking at the dots, and you create a geomantic figure out of this, okay? I'll show you how to do it. Right now, we won't be doing the spirit magic yet. Okay, we just called on a spirit, actually. Okay, the Shem Angel, if you did that with me. Today in the geomancy, I'll go into like how to work with spirits for the divination later. If you keep watching these videos, then you're going to know how to like conjure spirits and ask questions, like a Renaissance mage. You're going to be conjuring spirits and doing divination like a Renaissance mage, okay? We're doing that Renaissance classical magic. Okay, that's what the topic is here. So, I'll show you how to do this, but let me take a look at the comments here. Okay, because I don't want to ignore y'all. Let's see what we have here. Thank you, everyone, for taking part in this, what I'm doing here, this morning show. Okay, I appreciate y'all dropping in to say hello. So thank you for dropping by this morning to say hello and perhaps listen a little bit to what we've got going on here. So thank you, all of you, for watching. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate any comments that y'all leave me. I appreciate, you stop by, you say hello. Rachel says, I've always shared the names of Hashem. Yes, the names of the divine. That's where this like Shem Angel magic comes from. I understand some people, maybe they don't come from an Abrahamic tradition. Maybe they come from another tradition or no tradition. But the roots of the Shem Angels do come out of like Jewish magic. Okay, so the names of Hashem, yes. Okay, and the name Hashem. Okay. Let me go through these comments. I connect pretty well naturally, however, I'm reading the comments here. I connect pretty well naturally, however, when I smoke pot or cannabis, that's when I can see and hear better, but it's not necessary for me. I do enjoy it, and they do too. Okay, that's what this person said. So that's kind of a controversial topic, but that's what with comments we can get like all different sides of things. If someone wants to work with that and get good results, then great, That's why I think it's always good to have a ritual journal or like a ritual a diary, a magical record where you write stuff down. Okay, it helps you out because from your experience that this helps you out. You know that it helps you out. In my personal experience, it blocks me from like having that particular thing personally blocks me. I find myself that not doing any substance is better for me personally in my practice. And then also, if you look at like traditional like Renaissance magic, you don't really see any evidence. There's no evidence of like people taking herbs or anything with the grimoires. There's just like nothing. They put all this focus in swords and incenses and very careful timing and purification. If substances were important, they would have mentioned it. They would have mentioned it. It would have come up in a grimoire somewhere if it was used. It's absolutely not part of the tradition, not a central part of at least like this type of grimoire magic tradition. Now that said, if someone wants to use that and have good results, then that's all you need. You found that works, so be it. That's how I look at it, I do think that things definitely could open up the mind. But for me, each person's different. I respect that that's your view, and I think that's awesome. I say keep doing it if it works. Me personally, I found that when I do like spirit work, now I am in like a relaxed state, but I don't use any substance. Let's see, Rachel says, I think it's key to have a pure heart and thoughts as we enter into prayer. Much love. Yes. Me personally, now my subjective experience is not reality, obviously. But my personal experience and what I hear from a lot of people it seems like having a pure heart and pure intentions is important when working with the Shem Angels. It just helps us to resonate with them, like like to really make a connection. It helps us to not hold anger or hatred towards anyone, and to try to let things, and to try to like focus on goodness and beauty and love and happiness. And also like working with them. I've had a few people that I've seen working with them, that normally work with like the Ars Goetia, stuff like that. And since they've started working with the Shem Angels, it kind of blew their mind a little bit, because like they're like, I want to be a better person. And they're not used to that with magic, Like, you want to be a better person. Now, again, I don't want to like put the seeds of what should happen to anyone that hasn't worked with this yet. I want you to have your own personal experience. But me personally, I've found that like I want to be a better person. You just want to spread goodness and light. And, when I was younger, I used to laugh at all the like white lighters, like they don't want to look at the shadow and all this. But like working with the Shem Angels, like it really does kind of like, yeah, like we want more love and goodness in the world. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. They seem to have an influence upon the person, often in that direction. Let me see here. Max says, I had recently contacted an angel through Solomonic methods, and his energy was very strong. I'm reading the comments here. I feel thankful that he listened to my request, and I wasn't ready to handle that type of energy. It felt like a sharp knife. Okay. Interesting. Noir says warm joy and hope. I think that's when I was asking, like, what do you feel? Warm joy and hope. That's the thing with these angels. You just feel like love and peace. Like, again, I try to be careful, like talking about my subjective experience. I try to be careful because, like, I want each person, this is like your journey, okay? Don't let anybody, like, try to, like, put expectations. But, like, me personally, like, I just found that, like, maybe I shouldn't. I just felt like other spirits and grimoires, you don't get just positive feelings, okay? Some of the spirits, you get a little bit of a fucked up feeling, a little bit, you're like, oh, when you call them, you're like, or you get like weird events and things leading up to the operation. You don't get that with Shem Angels. With Shem Angels, it's just love and joy and just warmth. That's what blew me away when I started doing like working with Shem Angels, because I'd been working with like all kinds of like planetary entities and all this stuff. And it really like the difference, like it's just pure like love and peace and warmth and just goodness and just love, But anyways, today we're gonna do some geomancy. Shall we do some geomancy? Okay, we're gonna do a little geomancy today. Alright, give me just a second. Actually, I could get some more coffee. What time is it? This is much longer. It's been about 30 minutes. I ran a little late for my show today. I started at like 8:30 Central Time, which I'm in Central Time. Give me just a second and we're going to work through a geomantic figure if you want to do it with me. Maybe you've been doing geomancy for ages. Okay, you might be a professional. But for those of you that maybe you've never done a geomantic reading before, we're going to do it together. I'm going to show you how to make a geomantic figure, okay? This is going to be your first time. I'll be right back, though. I'm going to go get some coffee. Give me just a moment. And thank you for keep tuning in. I'll be right back. Wow, I've got like the best audience ever. I didn't expect, like, y'all actually waited. That's awesome. All of y'all are awesome. You actually waited, you know. I bet a few of you were like, if he doesn't come back, and you got 20 seconds, Taliesin McKnight, you better hurry it up or you're gonna lose my view, you know. I don't think I lost anybody. Maybe somebody said, okay, enough of that, goodbye, you know. But for the most part, y'all hung in there. Y'all are awesome. I wonder if I lose. Like, that's awesome. Y'all are amazing. Max says, I had recently contacted an angel. Wait, I already read that, I think. Let me see here. Noir says, I've been feeling this angel the past 3 days, but didn't know it was him. That's awesome. Okay, Noir says, I do this, but I don't know I'm doing this. This is fascinating. I hear the words all the time, and I've been meaning to look it up. But you were literally telling me exactly what I've been doing. That's awesome. Okay. Hell yeah. Y'all are awesome. You're amazing. You're amazing. Think how amazing you're going to be when you start doing angel magic. And it starts opening up awesome avenues. Like when things start getting really interesting in life. Get a little excitement, get a little angel magic going. Because we're a bunch of Renaissance angel mages. Okay. Severine says, I can never turn your videos off. I had stuff to do today, but I guess it can wait. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you very much, you know. I don't want to keep you from doing your stuff, you know. But now you're tuning in, so we're going to do some geomancy instead, you know. No school today, sirs and madams. No sirree, no school today. You can call in sick. We're doing Taliesin McKnight show, you know. Call your job, act all sick, you know. Call him up, you know, your boss answers the phone. You'd be like, I'm sick, you know. They hear my thing in the background. Like, I'm sick, you know. I can't quite make it. Little flu bug, you know. Morning flu bug. In fact, I can never make it at this time again. Okay. All right. Enough of the silliness. So we're going to do some geomancy. For this, you're going to need a pen and paper. Me personally, I don't like the ballpoint pens because sometimes in making the dots, you can't really tell if it's a dot or not on the paper. Like you might see like a little thing and you're like, did I make a dot? I like to use Sharpies. Okay, Sharpies. Behold the sacred Sharpie. The sacred Sharpie, everybody. Okay, sacred Sharpie, whatever. I like to use something that makes plenty of ink. I don't like to use a ballpoint pen, so I really I really recommend something very inky to do this. You want lots of ink. I like to use a good Sharpie. All right. So what you're going to need is paper and a pen or Sharpie, okay? Like, I want you to actually go stop what you're doing and go get that if you want to do this with me. If you're watching my video later on, then pause the video and we're going to make geomantic figures together, okay? Get a pen and paper and we're going to do this together. All right? I have a feeling some of you aren't doing it. I have a little bit of a feeling, a little sneaking suspicion. Some of you are like, you think I'm going to do it, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing it, Taliesin McKnight. Well, that's fine then, you know. Be a spoil sport if you want. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to show you how to do it, okay? So what you do is we're going to make a geomantic figure. This is how you make a geomantic figure. And once again, this was used to like communicate with planetary intelligences or spirits. But today we're not doing that. So this is how you do it. Take your pen and paper. You're going to make four lines of dots. You're going to be like dot, 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 dot. And then the next row, dot, 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 dot. And the next row, you're going to do 4 rows of dots. And we're going to make that into a geomantic figure, okay? So here we go. All right, so here we go. Very easy, very simple. We have four rows. So there's the top row. Looks like 4 dots. Then we have the second row. And then we have the third row kind of curves up right here, the third row. And then we have the bottom row. This is going to be used to make a geomantic figure. So what we have is 4 rows of dots, okay? 4 rows of dots. So if it's an even number of dots, it becomes 2. If it's an odd number of dots, it becomes 1. And this is going to be used to make a geomantic figure. So the top row has actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, there's a 1 there. Can barely see it. Right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is an odd number, so that makes 1 dot. Odd numbers make 1 dot. The second row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 is an odd number. Odd numbers make 1 dot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the third row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 is an even number. Even numbers make 2 dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. The third row makes 2 dots. I now have the figure Puer. So basically, odd numbers equal 1. Even numbers equals 2. What we have is a binary figure, which is like zeros and ones in computers. Okay, or on and off switch. Okay. In this case, 1 is actually active and 2 is inactive or passive. So what we have is 4 rows of dots. So I took a pen and paper and I went, and then I went next row. So you do 4 rows of dots and then you add up each row. If it's an even number of dots, it's 2. If it's an odd number of dots, it's 1. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is an odd number, so that's 1 dot. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 is an odd number, so that's 1 dot. Even and then odd. So that's how you get the geomantic figure. The geomantic figure I drew was Puer. Okay? Puer. And it's interesting because I actually asked, I didn't ask a spirit, I just kind of like asked, like whatever. I asked about, me doing this show, and I got Puer. Puer represents like a rush of energy and drive, and that's actually a very good figure here. Puer. It's like striking out with strength and all this type of thing. Puer. Okay. But each day I'm going to talk about a different geomantic figure. Today we're looking at Albus, okay? So before we started our series off with Puer, our second geomantic figure yesterday was Amicio or Loss. And today we come to our third geomantic figure, which is Albus. Albus, as you can see, is made up of 2 dots at the top, 2 dots, 1 dot, and 2. So we have 2, 2, 1, 2. Okay, think of it like a binary. So it makes like the image of a chalice or cup or a goblet. Okay, think of it like a wine glass. All right. You have the stem of the wine cup here, and then you have like the cup. This holds the liquid, and then there's the handle. It's a wine glass, all right? It's the goblet, Albus. Albus means white. Albus is the goblet, and Albus is assigned to Gemini and Mercury. Albus. Albus represents wisdom. Wisdom and purity. Okay, Albus is about reflection and thought and wisdom. I think it's pretty interesting because to me, to a certain degree, Albus is like the hermit card of geomancy. To me, Albus is like the hermit card of geomancy. Albus is a cup, but it represents like wisdom. Okay, it's like a cup of wisdom. You could think of it like the Grail. Okay, the Holy Grail. It's the cup of, it represents wisdom, peace, and detachment, like spirituality. Think of like holiness, like a monk or someone that's reflective. Okay, if we're going to go back to like the Middle Ages, it'd be like a monk. It's someone that's like holy, reflective, someone that's focused on contemplation and their own inner life. So Albus represents wisdom, and it's good to get in any kind of reading where you need to like have good counsel. Okay, if you need to make good, solid decisions, Albus would be a good geomantic figure to get. Now, if you need something that needs a lot of courage and a lot of like determined and just rush of energy, if that's what you need, Albus would be bad. For something that takes courage and drive, you need Puer. Okay, Puer, but Puer is that Mars. Here we can like compare planetary energies, okay? Puer is Mars and Aries, and it represents energy and drive and force, but sometimes it could be brash, okay, a little too bold. Sometimes you can do and say things without thinking. All right? You're too much energy. Sometimes you need quiet reflection. Where maturity and quiet reflection are needed, you need Albus, not Puer. Okay? In that case, Albus is needed. But Albus is so much about like quiet reflection that if it's something that you need to like stand up and fight or something, Albus would not be the best one because it's too like withdrawn and like ideas and thoughts and trying to make decisions and wisdom. If you need to like butt into something, Albus would be bad and Puer would be good. As an example, okay? So whether a figure is good and bad, it's not like just like the Tower card and the Tarot. Oh, it's bad, you know. Well, I guess in Tarot the same thing applies. In Geomancy, it's good or bad depending on the reading, depending on what you ask, okay? It may be that you don't need more quiet reflection. You need to get in there and get busy, okay? As an example, okay? So Albus is good in anything that requires quiet reflection, okay? It may not be good in something that requires a lot of activity and movement and doing things, okay? It could be a little bit too much in your head. Okay, Albus, like I said, represents a goblet or a cup, and its inner element is water. Each geomantic figure has an internal and an external element. The external element is water. The internal element is water, okay? So, now, like I said, I try to break down geomantic figures and explain them for you. We're getting into Renaissance magic here. Real Renaissance magic, real Renaissance occultism. There's nothing new age, nothing modern. We're doing magic like it was done in the 1600s, okay? And we're going back to the 1500s types of magic. It's interesting that Agrippa's, quote-unquote, pseudo-Agrippa's fourth book of occult philosophy goes into geomancy. But anyways, there are elemental attributions as well. Remember that geo means earth divination, okay? So if you get 2 dots, okay, there are 4 rows. 4 rows. There are 2 different ways to look at the 4 rows of a geomantic figure. You could look at it as the head, the neck, the body, and the feet. So each figure, you have a head line, a neck line, a body line, and a feet line. So you could say this figure has 2, the head is 2, the neck is 2, the body is 1, the feet is 2. Another way to look at it is active and passive. 2 dots means passive. So this one, wait a minute, that is another way to look at it, but these are also elemental lines, okay? So the top line is fire, the second line is air, the third line is always water, and the fourth line is earth. So you have the fire line. The fire line here has 2. The air line has 2. The water line has 1, and the earth line has 2. Now, 2 dots means passive. and 1 dot means active. This has one, Albus has only one active element. The active element is water. And notice it's a cup. So the internal element is water, and water is the only element that's active. Only the water line is activated in Albus. So you have passive fire, passive air, active water, and then passive earth. It's the only active element is water. So the internal element is water. Externally, it's air. Albus is air externally because it's an air sign. It's Gemini and Mercury. So Albus, its outer element is air, its internal element is water. But externally, it's air. It's Gemini, it's Mercury, it's communication, it's thought. It's the exchange of ideas and information. It is education. It's thought and reflection. And you could also think of someone like reflecting in a cup of water, you know, Albus. Albus. So that's a little bit about Albus, okay? Albus, like I said, it is outer element is air, and it's Gemini and Mercury. Okay, it's strengthened in the 3rd house and weakened in the 9th house. If you're doing a chart, like a house chart. Okay, and then further on in my videos, I'm going to show you how to do like summon spirits and ask them questions this way. You're going to be asking spirits questions like they would have done in the 1600s. You know why? Because this tradition has never died. Classical magic still lives on. There's still people that practice in the classical way. Okay, classical magic is not dead. Some people refer to this as Renaissance magic. I don't really do that anymore because that implies that this is just something from the past. It's Renaissance, it's from the past. But really, people never stopped doing classical magic. That's why I call it classical magic. This is not something dead in the past. There are still people that do magic and occultism in the classical way from centuries. Okay, we're going back hundreds of years. Classical magic. This is we're delving into some Renaissance magic here. So this is geomancy. And later on in future videos, I'll tell you how to like summon a spirit and talk to it this way and get answers to your oracles and questions. So you could try it out and see how effective it is. How does it work for you? You know, you could try it out. But so today, I talked a little bit about the Shem Angels, the 72 angels of the Shem HaMephoresh. I talked about their history and lore from like the 16th century, 17th century, okay? I talked about the current Shem Angel, and I talked a little bit about geomancy. So thank you everyone for joining me. And so this is every morning. I try to do it at 8 a.m. my time, Central Time. Today I was 30 minutes late. The thing is, I am giving a lot of content, but, you know, today was like 30 minutes. So around this time, okay, I'm going to try to keep doing it at 8 a.m. Central Time. Today I was a little bit late, but I made, how much time is this? It's been an hour and 10 minutes, something like that. I'm going to do these Monday through Friday, okay? Monday through Friday, there will be a new episode. These are done live on Facebook. And I appreciate any of y'all that come in and say hi and or say hello, drop by, and, you know. And if you're just stopping by, then this is actually at the end. But I'm about to finish this, and it's going to process. Like I said, my last 2 videos. You'll watch it here in a bit. That's it for today. Now, keep in mind, you know, I want everyone to keep in mind that the tone of your day often is a reflection of how we are on the inside. Our tone. Not only does the tone of our day tend to be reflected from within, but also our perceptions of the world are sometimes based on internally, like how are we feeling. I want us to try to project a good day, and sometimes you can't let the day. You have to demand that you're gonna have a good day today. Okay, and a productive day. And I hope that everyone, whatever your goals, whatever your desires are in your life, I hope that today you get closer to fulfill them. And I hope that you're active in your life to try to make things how you want them to be. Okay, that's the alchemy of change. Our alchemical laboratory is our lives. Do you want things to be the same as they are every day? Or do you want things to be different? If you want things to be different, then we have to change things up. Okay, this is how we direct our lives. This is how we govern the vehicle of our lives. If we're not where we want to be, then we need to look at where we want to go. We're going to have to correct our course. But I just want everyone to leave the show, whatever you're working on, whatever's going on in your life. I just want you to have good intention, good results. Okay, I want everyone to have blessings of the 72 angels of the Shem HaMephoresh, if you'll accept that, and have a great day today, and try to bring in blessings into your life, and be open to some of the blessings and the blessings of energies. Okay, be open to some of these spiritual energies. I feel like it's important to say that. Like sometimes we're so focused on the negative that we close ourselves off. Sometimes we're so focused on the negative that we're actually closing ourselves off, because we're choosing to close ourselves off, because we're choosing to set our dial. Think of yourself like a radio dial, like you're switching the stations. Your frequency, you're focusing on this negative side. We need to be open. So may we open up more to positive, beneficial, and healing energies in our lives, and try to attune ourselves more with that healing and less with the negativity. Sometimes the more we fight and the more we get into that's what we're drawing more of. Okay, like attracts like. So let's all try to focus on healing and positivity. Okay, and try to bring more of that into our lives. That is what comes to my mind working with the 72 Shem Angels. You find that you begin to work more at like a positive type of vibration, you know. I hate to say that because I don't want to sound like one of those like positive, whatever, like toxic positive guru things or whatever, but I mean it. Like we can make things good, you know. So I don't know if that helps anyone, you know, or yep, that's it for today. Yeah, thank you, Logan. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you for stopping in to say hello, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Tune in next time, y'all. Tune in tomorrow if you want to catch me tomorrow. Have a great day, y'all.